Hey everybody, welcome to another World of Tanks replay. This one is in the T49 Swamp, and I'm platooned up with Serb and Renzero. Now, this is following on from the earlier IS-7 game, and this platoon turned out to be one of the most fun nights of World of Tanks I've had for many years. Now, I'm on the east side of Swamp. Normally, in anything except a light tank, I would head north. Anti-clockwise is the correct way to play this map. If you try and head south across the bridge in a medium or heavy from this spawn, you're going to get your shit kicked in. However, I'm in a light tank. Moreover, I'm in one of the fastest light tanks in the game. So I know that the enemy mediums, heavies and tank destroyers will not be positioned to do anything about me by the time I get across the bridge. They have a couple of light tanks that might, but a pair of T-71s and a 1375, AMX 12 ton, not even a 1375, all played by pretty ordinary players. I'm not too scared. I blast off a reaction shot there at the 1390, who I actually should have mentioned there. I didn't notice him on the scoreboard. It scares him away, but it doesn't actually hit him. It's all good. The enemy obviously know I'm here. They would have realized I was here anyway. And now I'm more or less safe. If they try and push up on me, they're going to pay for it dearly. Let's see the IS-6 and Panther 88 in position already, or 8-8 as the Germans would call it, and oh boy, what's this idiot doing? Well, he's not having a fire extinguisher, that's for certain. An HE shell directly into the 40mm side armor of the Panther.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
RIP. With one shot in my light tank, I've done more damage than that guy probably does in a heavy tank as top tier. So I'm pretty happy with myself at the moment. I decide to kind of cautiously poke here and see if I can figure out if the enemy have anything in the swamp. It doesn't look like it. I should have spotted them by now if they did. I haven't got shots on anything up on the opposite ledge, so I'm kind of thinking, they don't appear to have anything covering the F and G lines. I might just push along the lake shore and pop up next to where those other tanks are spotted, down in H and J5. It's kind of risky, but generally they're going to be on the reverse slope, so they'd have to pull right out of cover and sit on the top of the ridgeline to get a shot at me. I'm kind of hoping that one of them's pushed forwards, because if one of them's pushed forwards, which this T-25 has, it gives me a perfect opportunity to pop out and shoot them in the back. Now, he's all out on his lonesome. He's probably not going to have any support from his teammates. No time to react. You can see me break my auto lock to aim just a little higher on his side, but unfortunately it doesn't pay off. This is why I usually don't fire the HE rounds and just stick to heat. It's more consistent. I only did 339 damage to that guy. Had I fired heat, it most likely would have penned and gone through for about 650, 700 damage, which would have been much nicer, and it would have nearly one-shot him. However, I was able to get away with that, and it's allowed me to pop back into cover, reload a heat round. Nobody else is shooting at me, and it looks like the enemy Ferdinand is busying himself with team killing the enemy light tanks, so I don't have to worry about him. The T-25 insists on pushing out unsupported. It looks like the IS-6 is actually pushed up as well, but the IS-6's armor is a little too much for me to really try for. I finish the T-25, waiting as long as I dare for my aim to settle before taking the shot, finish him off, and decide to run away. Now, there's a 1390 there, and the IS-6, both ganking our T-44. I'm not going to bail out that T-44 for his bad life choices. I'm going to head through the gap in the middle of the map. Now, the enemy do of course have a Waffenträger Panzer IV, he's up north. They also have a Ferdinand. Now, the Ferdinand is probably in their base. They're usually a single TD in the base, or perhaps 2 or 3 TDs, depending how many the enemy have. In this case, yep, sure enough, he's in the base. He gets a shot into me as I try and get under the cliff to proxy him. So it turns out I don't need to actually proxy him. And here I see he's actually keen to jump on me. Big mistake, guy. He does finish me in the end, but I put a huge hit through his lower plate, 683 damage, and he is now one-shottable. He bounces a couple of shells there, but inevitably he's going to go down. And after a couple more bounces, Serb is able to pop him. The L7A1 with its 268 pen does not give a shit about the frontal armour of a Ferdinand. You can pen it anywhere, including its casemate. Well, that was awful nice of him to donate a further nearly 700 damage, very nearly 700 damage to my little damage padding match here. Normally I don't do this much damage in the T49, you don't really get the opportunity. It takes some truly stupid pubbies to be able to rack up this much, but I'm not going to complain when it does happen. Normally I try and rely more on spotting than my own gun. I might use my own gun once or twice to finish off low health tanks, or maybe pop an enemy light tank or arty, but it's very rare for me to end up doing so much damage to mediums and tank destroyers. Lessons we learn from this. First of all, carry fire extinguishers for the love of God. At least manuals, but preferably automatics, particularly on higher tier tanks. Also, don't show your lower plate to a T49, it's a really bad idea. He's lucky I was actually far enough away that I couldn't see his belly plate very clearly when he did that, and also that I didn't have an HE round loaded. If I did have an HE round loaded, and if I had been right under him and able to hit his belly plate, it's very possible that could have been an 800 or 900 damage shot, which would not have ended well for him. Ren0 unfortunately takes a shotgun there from the GW Tiger, but Serb finishes it off to round out a pretty convincing win, with our platoon, as usual, doing most of the work. Again, the T49 is just a fantastically fun little thing to play. It's not consistent, it's not the light tank you want if you want to consistently perform in a match. That would probably be the RU-251 or the Walker Bulldog, maybe the LTTB. This thing, not consistent, but a lot of fun. And this is the reason why. Some matches, you just get the perfect setup and you can really make people cry with this big 152mm gun. When it comes to ammunition, it's all about knowing when to select it. Heat rounds, as a general rule, are the best option, although you do have a much higher chance of one-shotting enemy light tanks if you have the HE loaded. It's not always enough. You may hit tracks, you may hit guns, it might get eaten by something. It's generally safer to just use heat. Of course, heat's not without problems of its own. As you would have seen in my previous videos, it's possible to zero damage track people and end up getting killed because of it. But the heat round is more of a general sort of go-to round for this tank, and then go to the gold HE if you see a chance for a good setup shot on something with no armor. Generally, if you're going to be taking snapshots of things with no armor, I would still use heat. The HE is really just if you have a good, deliberate shot. Now, the other situation where HE might be useful, and this is why you should only be carrying the gold HE, don't even bother with the regular stuff, is if there's a very, very, very low health tank who you can't quite hit, but you can hit right next to him, because this thing does splash. It doesn't splash much, but it splashes enough, so if you can hit next to somebody who has no hit points, or underneath somebody who has no hit points on the ground, you can still kill them, even if you can't hit their tank directly for whatever reason. And you'll actually see me doing this in a future replay. I'm not sure how many games from this one it is, but it will be coming soon. In the E100, but it's the same sort of thing. You can splash low health tanks to death with HE, but it is such a rare occurrence and such a situational thing that I wouldn't generally recommend trying. It's only if you don't have any other option, especially because the tanks that are capable of splashing other tanks to death with HE generally have very long reloads and very poor gun handling, and so if you happen to fuck up and miss the shot, or if it doesn't actually have the effect you intended, you're very vulnerable as you reload. But it is a viable choice, and it can come in handy. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this replay. Cannot recommend this tank enough. Give it a try. If you don't want to at least grind up the tree to get it, give it a try in the test server, see how you go with it. It is just so much fun to play, especially when you're playing with friends and you know you've got some good support behind you. As ever, I wish you the best of luck in the field, and I'll see you on the next video.